Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Welcome to the Bloomington RDC meeting, Redevelopment Commission meeting for Monday, June the 3rd, 2024. We'll start the meeting with a roll call.
Sue Scambolari here.
Randy Cassidy, present.
Deborah Meyerson here.
John West here.
Deb Hutton here. Staff present.
Anna Hansen, hand.
Christina Bentley, hand.
Larry Allen, legal.
Jane Cooper-Smith, Economic Development.
Jessica McClellan, City Controller.
Roy Aitken, engineering.
Thank you. Any online?
No.
Nope. Okay.
Hmm.
First, we'll have the minutes of May 20th, 2024. If there are any questions or comments from the commissioners, let's have them. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move acceptance of the minutes for May 20th, 2024.
Sue Scambolari, second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Next, we have the examination of claims for June the 7th, 2024 for $32,797.77. Any questions or comments from commissioners? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I have one question in regards to 9216 Williams Creek Management Corp. On our Evergreen Village. Those are one of four, right, that we were doing on that. As far as that, is there ever any point that we would be able, based on that particular village, be able to have the homeowners to ever take that over? Is that just something we're going to have forever?
That was part of the original conception, I believe, of Evergreen, is to have a homeowners association stood up. I don't know the status. I know that a couple of years ago there was a movement to try to stand that up. I think there was some resistance to that. But what these lots that are actually RDC owned are pretty critical to the drainage of the area.
Right.
So in this case, this is what the plantings are for, is to try to help with any water runoff from that neighborhood, because these are the common lots that are meant to take care of that.
Is Evergreen Village not the assisted living that's rental anyway? I mean, there's no homeowners to.
These are homeowners.
These are
Okay.
homeowners.
Okay.
This is a neighborhood.
Yeah, this is a neighborhood that Hand had helped develop.
Okay.
This is back when I was on the
Yes.
RDC. I thought there was a covenant or a restriction in the deed that called for an HOA.
You are correct.
You are correct, and their deadline is looming. We met with them twice last year, trying to get them encouraged to form the HOA. There's quite a bit of resistance, unfortunately they're pursuing their options at this time to see if they can get out of it. I don't really know. Nobody's stepped up to be president at this time, so there is some issues as far as the formation of that HOA, but we are trying to assist as best we can. At this time, it's falling on deaf
What
ears.
option they would have. It's kind of, they sign, they have a deed.
Well, yeah, and the basis of that is because of that low area and the flooding area that occurs when we build houses in a low area, guys, just flat out. Yeah. But in order to try to identify that so we don't have an ongoing long-term program, is this something that we need to ask the MS4 coordinator of the city if there's something that additionally could be done to assist with these people so they don't have that ongoing concern? Just a question.
Well, we'd retain our lots, and I think we would have to be a member of the HOA, and we would make our contributions and maintain our property. So we're not dumping that onto them.
No.
But
I'm not looking to dump anything. I'm just looking at how we resolve this issue that, quite frankly,
we don't know what their concerns are, really.
I don't think that anyone wants to start paying, was what I heard.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, which is
That's what I
understandable. But, yeah, just if we can continue to look into it, to how we can help and assist to get something of that nature occurring. And if those lots are critical in the drainage area, is that something that, from a stormwater situation that they would take so it doesn't continually come back onto the redevelopment? Yeah.
Well, that is kind of the idea, is that the HOA would kind of take over the maintenance and be able to maintain it since they have the closest view of it as opposed to.
Yeah, but long term, I mean, we helped put it in place, so.
We hosted a meeting with their neighborhood, so we will continue to have those meetings and try and figure out how we can facilitate getting that HOA off the ground. But I will tell you, there was some resistance.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's just a matter if we have to seed it or do something to get it, because the end result, if it becomes a drainage issue and it has to be maintained, it's going to either have to be maintained by stormwater, by something of that nature, because we all know we don't want any flooding. So, okay, I appreciate that, thank you.
Any other comments? Could I entertain a motion, please?
I'll move approval of claims register for June 7th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed unanimously. The payroll register for May the 31st, 2024 for $38,335.13. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Now, since I'm on a roll, I'll move for approval of payroll register for May 31st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Thank you. Reports from the officers and committees. Director's report first.
No director's report, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Legal report.
No report, but I am happy to answer any questions as well.
Thank you. Treasurer's report. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. Can you please pass around the fund report? I'm bringing to you just the fund report, has the total fund balance. And we were working on the project status update report today, and there has not been a lot of change. And we're still working on the best way to get the correct, accurate information for that report.
But this is a start.
This is definitely a good start, and this shows you, definitely shows you the activity that has happened in the funds. The first page is the consolidated TIF, and then I like having all the months there for you to kind of see what's happened since the beginning of the year. The second page is the RDC fund, and the third page is the Prow Road TIF. So we are continuing to work on getting that updated. We may even come to you guys offline and maybe with some drafts and be like, is this, so we can really fine tune what you're looking for. I apologize for not having it ready again this month, but we do have that draft and we're working on it.
Was there something wrong with the model you were using, which is kind of a leftover from years ago? I mean, that was a pretty decent report.
Yeah, no, I like that model too. I think that we're at the point right now where we need to meet directly with the departments that are managing those projects and to kind of talk to them about how to look at it, how to find those projects in one fund. Now they're not separated into different TIFs. They're all a lot of them are in the consolidated TIF, and that has made it kind of hard for us to understand what goes with what project.
Okay. But the format I thought was,
Yeah.
you don't have to maybe reinvent the wheel. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's just collecting the information.
I like the format. And I guess, if you think that there are projects missing, I don't think there are projects really missing from it.
I wouldn't, first of all, I would not remember.
Okay,
I wasn't, I just assumed the projects were there.
yeah.
But
All right, well, let's keep working on it. I will bring you, by next month, there will be changes. So I'll bring you updates next month, and we can also talk about, are these projects that we should be looking at on this form? All right.
That's great. Any questions, Commissioner?
This is just the total overall account dollar balances
Yes.
on all three of them.
Yes,
And when you say the
that's
RDC fund on page number 2, what,
444, is
yeah.
that?
Okay, so that's our 444, that's our capital account that
Exactly.
receives our lease rents and pays out into our utilities and the other consistent.
Yeah, any maintenance costs.
Any maintenance costs.
come up.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. So, because the consolidated TIF is the TIF revenues.
Right.
And the 444 is, okay.
Exactly. There's no TIF, there shouldn't be any TIF revenue in 444. Yes, it's operating. Yes.
Thanks.
All right, well, we should have, go ahead.
Larry, but which fund was used for the purchase of Bunger and Robertson?
That was TIF.
That was TIF.
Consolidated.
So hypothetically, if we were to sell that property, I know it's not on deck for the convention center, funds would flow back into that fund?
It wouldn't flow back into the TIF. Technically, it goes into the 444 account because it's revenue
Okay.
from sale of property. It doesn't have to go back into the TIF. But that doesn't also mean that it's restricted from use from projects. So it could be used for projects still. The 444 account, while we refer to it as the operations and the repair, that's because legally the TIF can't be used for those things, but the revenue account can be. So the revenue account essentially is less restrictive than the TIF account.
So literally, if that property was sold, that amount would go into the 444 account. And then we have the ability for the administration of the redevelopment commission to put that into a different project, could still be utilized in a capital function.
Absolutely.
Okay, whether it be roads, buildings, assistance for, yeah.
And typically, yeah, that's Jessica's handling that and reviewing all those decisions, so.
Okay.
And I will remind you that the next meeting or the meeting after that, we'll see the revenue from May property taxes into this TIF account too, so you'll get to see your distribution.
From a distribution standpoint, does that come twice a year?
Yes.
Okay, May and, oh, you would know this.
June and December.
Okay, that's when the numbers hit and go, do they all go to all the taxing entities in those particular same times?
Yep, all on the exact same day.
Okay, so everybody gets a smile twice a year.
Yes, yes.
Appreciate it, Jessica.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much. Business development updates?
So we did have a quick update today. Dee De La Rosa, it's Jane Cooper-Smith, Director of Economic and Sustainable Development. Dee De La Rosa, our Assistant Director for Small Business Development, wanted me to let the commissioners know that we received approval for our Certified Technology Park, or we received our CTP certification earlier today. So that will result in $250,000 for the city in service of supporting the park and economic development and service of attracting technology firms.
So getting all of that information in that D rushed through to get
Yes,
taken care of
it-
came to roost in a positive light.
Yes, it has
Wonderful.
significant impact, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for all it took, because that was a heavy lift over a
was.
short time.
I'll pass that on.
Hopewell update from Deb? Deb Kuntz?
I'm here. Sorry, a very short update today, and my camera may not be working. Sorry about that. I am here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, really short update. We are continuing our efforts on the reissuance of the blocks 8, 9, and 10 for that re-release of the public offering. The Jackson, and then on the core side, obviously the continued coordination for what's happening in prepping for the property transfer. And we haven't heard lately about the Jackson Street design, but that is coming along nicely with the intention of starting that Jackson Street design, which is that is funded by the READY, you may recall, it's funded by the READY grant. So we'll clearly be ready for that to begin in the spring of next year. And then of course the demolition continues, and we're hopeful that in July we'll be finished with the demolition over there at 8, 9, and 10, everything except for 714 South Rogers.
So that's
Quick
on,
report tonight.
thanks Deb. So the demolition on along First Street is on track, on time.
Yeah, for the blocks 8, 9, 10 for the buildings to come down, yes.
Great, congratulations, that's great. Any questions for Deb?
Yeah, release of 8, 9, re-release 8, 9, and 10, is that, I think last time we were gonna reach out and at least have conversation with the other previous people that had submitted. Did that ever occur?
That
One of
outreach
them
has
we've been-
occurred, Randy.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks.
And then
Yeah.
you're planning on having a re-release of that sometime in July? What kind of time frame were you looking for that to come out?
I can take that one.
Oh, okay.
We're hoping, I'm personally hoping sooner than July. We're just a bit crunched up with projects right now. This is top priority for all of us, but we have a draft that's being edited. We know what changes need to happen, and then we will rely on you three to help us gussy it up a little bit and then distribute it to the right parties. So I hope we're more like weeks away, 2 weeks, rather than a month.
And then give everybody, 60 days to give us a reply, or,
I can't remember what we listed in that.
okay.
Yeah,
Will they
yeah, we
be,
usually shown a minimum of 30 days since it's a public offering. It could be longer, but I think the minimum we've gone, and Larry can speak to that, has been 30.
Practically speaking, it's about 30. I think technically it could be as short as 21 days from the date of approval, but that's super tight.
Yeah, it's too tight to give, because what they're looking at is, they're gonna be presenting back another RFP with design considerations and what they think it would work for that, and then what it takes. Okay, and then we're not putting Brinshaw back out, or the core building back out.
Correct. We are not.
starting?
Let's start. just making sure as we
No.
put things back out, that if that's done. Do we expect them to be coming back for additional or not?
Additional funding for core?
Uh,
They will likely get some home funding, but other than that, not to my knowledge.
With all buildings, you never know what's gonna
Oh,
pop up.
oh, absolutely, yeah. But, well, not looking at anything from a TIF standpoint at this point.
I just had a question about the re-release. What kind of clarity is being provided in the re-release in terms of any feedback on responses to the initial release? Just for interested parties, whether the initial offerers or others, just trying to get a sense because it's a re-release. So how is that being managed in terms of feedback or just guidance for the second round?
I think this one might be for me, but can you clarify a little bit? Are you asking how we're indicating the difference to respondents, or how we're indicating the changes broadly in the public offering?
The changes in the public offering primarily, except that there was a reason that it's being re-released, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so any clarity on why it's being re-released as opposed to what the initial, any critiques of the initial responses or why.
Yeah, so it feels like a two-part question, and I'm not sure if you're asking me to articulate all the things right now, but I'm happy to. So part one is, what are the changes in the public offering?
My question
Or
was
how, or format?
Is there guidance being offered in terms of why there's a re-release? If you have an opportunity to summarize it, I'm curious, but if there's a place I can look it up, I'm happy to do that too.
Yeah.
So my question is just, how is that guidance or clarity being
That's
provided?
interesting. I don't know that we're summarizing why we're re-releasing or what the pause was for, but I feel like the changes are, and the change in format is going to be pretty significant. I mean, Larry, do you have a response?
In terms of how we
Like
incorporate
how
the
we're
format.
addressing the changes within the public offering itself.
I think a couple ways. One is about timing, about when it was put out. That was an issue that was raised to us. Also just about the type of information. So what we did last time, because we did it in a two-step process, the RFI as one, and then the notice of offering, I think that actually created a little bit of confusion among some developers and thought that they couldn't respond to the offering if they hadn't been part of the conversation for the RFI. So what this does, kind of in response to that, first of all, is it opens it up, so it makes it clear, and it also created a slightly more flexible language. If that you've seen that, think that that's accurate, Jane. Slightly more flexible language to kind of signal to developers that we actually want their creative ideas for this space, and that if they don't feel like they could do, for instance, all three or a whole block, that they could choose a portion of that. I think the way it was written originally with the notice of offering, it may have come across that you had to do at least three or two of them. I mean, the language was there that it was flexible, but I think that we just made that a little more explicit, a little clearer, and what it is. And also, it's just nicer looking, to be frank, which is not insignificant because it's easier to read. I think it guides the developers through it. It draws their attention to where the requirements are and lays those out a little bit clearer than what we do for the bare bones notice of offering for the legal requirement.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Other commissioner questions? No? Randy?
Hopewell?
Yeah, any more questions you have?
I have one question in regards to it, and this was based upon a meeting I was at yesterday, that the county had approached the city in regards to Hopewell as a jail location and was told no. Is that accurate?
I believe that they were told that it was not in the master plan, it was not in the way that the city had conceived of that site.
That question came to council members last year when I was serving on council, and council members were pretty unanimous in their feeling that Hopewell is intended for housing. So.
Yeah. I just heard it in a meeting yesterday, and I'd never seen it in any
There
vote or
wasn't,
anything.
I would say that it was not a formal request, it was a conversation, it was a more conversational inquiry.
It came up to us when we had the CBCI, and it was an informal discussion, but didn't get any traction then either.
Okay, that's fine. I just I was at a public meeting yesterday and that
Yeah.
came up and I had never seen anything in regards to any votes or any discussion on it, so I thought I'd at least bring it up and find out.
Yeah.
Any more questions about Hopewell? Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, I'll work on my video.
We'd like to see you, as always. New business, we have Resolution 2443, Agreement for Solar Design Services with MPI Solar LLC for the Forge, AKA Trades District Tech Center. Who will speak to us about that?
I'm happy to. So this is a request for up to $1,900 for MPI Solar to do the design and just advising on the installation of solar panels for the Forge. We had an original assumption that our O&M provider, Verigy, would be able to do this, but this is outside of the purview of their contract. And so we're requesting that this funding be allowed for just to help facilitate the installation of these panels. Yep.
Is MPI also an installer?
They are, and I apologize, I don't know if they are the selected installer for this project.
I don't believe they are. I don't believe they won the bid for the installation, so I think this is actually strictly a design. I could follow.
It just seems a little odd that, and $1,900, when I don't need to spend a bunch of time on it, but why wouldn't the installer do the design since they're gonna actually install it?
Let's see how fast I can get a text response, but it really got down to the nuts and bolts of where the electricity is coming in, what wires are going where. So it was really just the technical aspect of that, and the installer can take the design, can take the instructions and execute them. They weren't able to do the design work themselves. And so this is more like evaluating what types of panels can go up, and then making sure the configuration is correct, and then indicating, sorry, Randy would be able to speak to this.
Well, we're not paying
And
for
then-
design twice, right?
And Scioli says that, Chris Scioli, the project construction manager for Weddell, for the project, says that Woods Electric has subcontracted with MPI for the installation.
Okay, so what
So
this,
MPI is
yeah,
being-
so what this is the interconnection design in order to hook into the Duke system. Because given our electrical contractor over there, the design aspect of it wouldn't fall under his purview. And for the interconnection point, where it hooks into the main electrical feed. So this is a design issue.
I get that, I just didn't, I was a little surprised it wasn't already A, planned for, and B, why wouldn't the installer be doing the design work?
I
That
thought
was,
they are. I didn't realize
that was my,
MPI is the subcontractor, so
Yeah,
if
so
MPI is
they
the
are.
subcontractor, then, yeah.
okay,
So-
thanks.
Yeah.
So question, right there, John.
Oh, wait, so you feel like your question is addressed, but you have a lingering question?
Well, the later question, I understand this now from where it just came up, MPI is subbing off of Woods. So, but they didn't do a design because the scope of the work it's a scope gap is what it sounds like on this, because they didn't have
The scope of work was just for install.
Yeah, the scope of work was for installation and not design interconnection to the utility.
And if the assumption was that Verigy could do that and was already under contract with the city, then it's possible that it was just
I guess
intentionally omitted.
That's my
but
question, is
misunderstood.
Verigy, which would be the third-party contractor, or contractor with the city, are they providing the panels? How's Verigy involved, I guess?
They're the long-term operations and maintenance company, so they do the longer-term
Okay,
maintenance, and they help us with our annual reporting. And Chris Scioli confirms that the original scope of work was just for the installation.
Right. so.
Yeah.
Okay. I get this, it's a scope gap is essentially what it comes down to. They didn't have it scoped out for the design of the interconnection. That's what this 1,900 is for. Even though MPI is doing it, they're needing $1,900 in order to provide the literal design basis, so there's no liability. What it really comes down to. It wasn't scoped out in our project.
Yeah.
Satisfied, folks?
Yeah, and then Verigy, after all installations in, it's tested out, MPI and Woods have
Yep.
walked away.
They're off the
Then,
hook.
then Verigy will be the one, well, we've got our 1-year warranty.
Yeah.
Then Verigy will take over all reporting and identification of any
Right.
issues that occur in the future after that. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good, thank you.
Comments from the public? Online, in the room? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of Resolution 2443.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And the next resolution. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thanks.
A resolution 2444, approval of addendum to agreement with the AECOM, or AECOM, Technical Services, Inc. for the Beeline Trail and Multi-Use Path Project. Welcome.
Good evening, Roy Aiton with City Engineering. Our Beeline project, we're started construction on. Milestone contractors are out there, and at the beginning of the construction, we started some earthwork, and we realized some of the soils that were below the grass were colored, different color, darker soils. Also during excavation, they came across a hubcap and things like that. We did some investigation, realized that back in the 60s and 70s, that area that we had bought, which is just north of the railroad tracks on Adams there, used to be a salvage yard. It's been cleared up since that time, but I don't think anybody was aware of it. The state had asked us to come back and just take a look at the soils and see what we have in that area, and so that we can, if there's no problems with it, we can just incorporate it into the project. If there is something in it that we have to do some kind of mitigation with it. We reached out to AECOM, who has a contract with us on the Hopewell project, just kind of do an addendum with them to see if we could add these services to it. So they've given us kind of a revised scope of services to do testing on the soil. And then if necessary, they'll issue a report to us, and then they'll help us work through with IDIM to see if any kind of mitigation, if it goes down that route. We don't know yet what the soils are in it. So at this point, we're just asking for the funding to increase their scope so we can do some testing in the area.
Thank you. Questions from commissioners?
Does that area fall within our consolidated TIF?
As in the zones, I have to have someone else tell us in the zones. My understanding was the project was given, I shouldn't go by my understanding because I guess it's a bit of a guess. Maybe I'll wait for Larry. But it touches the tip. I know it touches the tip, but the project's a mile and a half long. But it serves it because it's a corridor into the TIF area.
That's my understanding.
Crescent's not, specifically Crescent Road is not, but part of Crescent along 17th, which is also, this is what the trail is connecting to, is that 17th Street trail does connect to the consolidated TIF as the 17th Street area. And so because the trail interconnects and connects it, then we'll connect it down to the Beeline. That's why it's serving the TIF.
And the trail
specifically.
the majority of the trail is funded by the TIF.
Correct.
So this is a continuation of.
Yeah, I just clarification in regards to.
I thought about that too, then I thought, well, it's probably adjacent to, and
If it's adjacent, contiguous, based on our previous, votes and such, has been anything contiguous to a trail, to the TIF we've utilized. Okay, just wanted to verify.
I have one question. I read this the other day, so you're only doing 6 borings?
Yeah, the area that we're looking at is very small.
Oh, is it?
It was
Okay.
just a part of a parcel that we had purchased and turned into right-of-way. That's right there. The remnant of the parcel is still owned by the property owner. So we only have an area that's about 15 feet wide by 30 feet long. So 6 borings they felt would cover us.
Okay.
For
I
that.
didn't think that was enough, but I didn't know this parcel was that small.
Yeah, it's a rather small area.
Okay. Thank you.
Other commissioner questions? Comments from the public? Seen or unseen? Seeing and hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution 24-44.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a first and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I believe
Quick
we're.
question. When is our expectation completion on this? I know you've told us, I just do not remember off the top of my head.
This project, there has been some delays because of that issue right there with and the waiting to get the results on this. We still have our critical completion path, though, is still towards November at the end of this year. But the way the contract's written, it's going to be into April also, with not construction as much, but all the behind the scenes stuff. So we'll still be, I anticipate I'll even coming back to you in April with updates and things like that next year.
Okay, so realistically, at the end of 1st of May next year, people could be using the trail.
But I hope by the end of this year,
By the
we're
end of this
hopeful. And I think the contractor's even hopeful that they'll get done before that even, so.
Good deal. Excellent.
Is one of the
Thanks, Roy.
lanes on Adams still closed to traffic? Because there was an issue, or has been an issue, in terms of there's no flagger that's, alternating traffic. It's not the safest place to drive.
The Adams Street project is wrapped up. It was a CDB project that we had done earlier this year. So we're open. I think we still have our closure out there on the street officially because we have a punch walk and the contractors get in there and do some more work. We have an upcoming closure that's, I think, pushed now until in a couple of weeks where we're going to be closing the intersection of Crescent and Fountain. And that's where that's where this job gets really big. We redo that intersection. So that's coming here soon.
So will that have a flagger to help manage traffic in terms of the lane closure and?
That's a full closure and it has a detour route.
Okay.
Now, if a contractor does some kind of temporary work, and there's been a lot of utilities jumping in there, they're all supposed to have flaggers. If they get caught without one, we kind of ask them to get a flagger. It's a requirement.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say. Please file a report or let us know if you see somewhere that doesn't have a flagger, because we have dedicated staff that are supposed to inspect those things.
Yep.
Business or general discussion from anyone?
Just a reminder, I won't be with you on the 17th.
You won't on the 17th? Okay.
We will next year.
Everyone else will be? Good, so we'll have 4, but 3 of us have to be on site. With that, any staff business? Okay, adjourning at,
It's not your record, but.
5, we're 5 minutes over at 5:34.